methadone clinics and everything around here. And anyway, there was a time period when I think he might have gone into rehab and come back. The thing was, he was really smart and really nice. And I couldn't believe how awesome he seemed after the rehab. I was like, whoa, like night and day, clear versus unclear. We were so not kidding. But anyway, he would wind up passing away somewhere in 2020. Anyway, there's lots to say about that whole situation, where I lived, how I wound up in the apartment where I was living. Also, my apartment was just half a block south of Sharon Savings Bank. My name is Sharon. So my dad worked at a bank, Wilmington Trust, which was brought into M&T. M as in Mary and T as in Tom. But sometimes if you say it really quick, it's like M&T, empty bank. And you could try to blame it on, say, someone who wound up in dire straits in life or whatever, and you have to bail them out per se. Or can you blame it on a new group of people who, through marriage, will drain your bank account? But it all looks healthy and legit. Like, it all seems like we need to go on 4 cruises in a year. Do you consider that draining someone's bank account? Do people really have that great of a time on cruises? Could you save that money for a rainy day in case something happens? Or, people feel safe if they keep getting pension or what have you, but you never know if you need a lump sum for some reason that's bigger than what you're being provided. There are some people who, maybe they'll go on 1 cruise, but it wouldn't become a habit. So, sprinklers on the lawn. Anyway, I'm just putting it out there because someone said that. Like, some people live by a certain philosophy. They will allow themselves certain luxuries if they have the money, but they will sock the money away because they're really concerned about the future. And some people really think about what goes on on earth, and would someone down the line need to feel safe and secure and protected because of something crazy that happens. Like, I'm kind of curious who gets through life unscathed without their lives being tossed up into an upheaval through no fault of their own. You could be going along doing everything you're supposed to do, but outside sources can come in and really mess up your life big time. And I'm wondering who always, and it's not like they're more deserving. It just so happens that it worked out. It's by chance. Because someone could come in and decide, we're going to shut down the clinic. So, SOL. We can give you a little bit of severance, but not much, What would you do then? Something really weird happened, the owner's family. We can't find someone to take over, so we're just going to shut it down. So I'm just saying that what would you do? Especially, like, say you didn't have a husband, like you're a single parent or whatever. What would you do? Or a single father, what have you? There's a huge puddle up here, which is unusual. I don't know if they have a water issue. I've never seen this before on Ben Franklin Parkway, so I'm kind of curious how it was created. It's way up there, this puddle. But they must have had a backed up drain or something. So there's a flooding here. All right, in fact, speaking of the neighbors I was talking about earlier, the Kapoors, there was a pipe burst situation that affected their basement. And there was a pipe burst like a couple streets over, and we had freezing cold temperatures like for quite a few years in the winter after I was, at the upheaval in 2011. And anyway, let's see here. So, and other people have wondered, like, can you get money? Like, if you have a pipe burst, can it be planned? Can you create issues? We had an epic flood here that flooded the Vine Street Expressway, which is like historic, you know. But what if all the drains are backed up or even drain pipes are closed off? For instance, in our building the other day, the hot water wasn't working. I'm like, who turned off the hot water? Like, it doesn't just stop working. Someone has to turn the valve and not turn it back on if they did repairs. What happened? Can you orchestrate something like that to ruin someone's day? You know, say someone wanted to be all fresh for an interview or something going on, and it's like, oh, I'd have to take a cold shower. So I don't know if there's a drain here or what, but that's how quick that can turn into a major puddle flood if someone stopped up a drain. So we have two rivers here, and I remember during the epic flood thinking, well, the Delaware River didn't flood, and it was pretty okay over on the east side. On the west side, it was like banks are flooded. There were people crying who were homeless who might have been hanging out there. And I wondered if someone lost, you know, a pet, or someone was crying so badly, it's like all their belongings were washed away. How much do people need to take from other people? We need to have an epic flood for news and for YouTubers to get more views. We need to have tornadoes, no tornadoes coming through Philadelphia. Wound up in New Jersey, the tornadoes. Heavy rainfall that causes a flood. Now, it did rain very fast-paced and quickly, but in my mind, when I saw the flooding, I was like, whoa, that's pretty fast for the floods to come up. And I know people say it comes up pretty quickly, you know, but I'm wondering if there are things that should be draining water to protect people that are stopped up on purpose. Because if you walk around here, what I noticed after returning from the pandemic, I was away before the pandemic and just so happened to come back after the pandemic, or the tail end of it. And I was like, all the street drains are jammed up with all kinds of trash. It wasn't like that in the past. I walked around the city a lot over a lot of years. And I'm like, whoa, they got stuff so jammed up in these street drains. It's a wreckage. I guess during the pandemic, people weren't cleaning as much as in the past, like whoever cleans out street drains. So when they had that quote-unquote historic epic flood, I'm wondering if there were a lot of drain pipes that were either closed off and or stuffed up with so much trash that it forced water over to the Vine Street Expressway, which is really like down here. Instead of, the runoff would be over on the Delaware River. Like everything would run over to the east in a lot of cases. So, can you rig a flood? And by the way, with the flooding in that girls' camp in wherever it was, Tennessee, Texas, now I'm forgetting exactly where it was, but they showed the design of the camp, and the dorms or the rooms or the housing for the youngest, the smallest girls was closest to the river. That is not best practices for camps. The most capable and stronger, taller, bigger should be living closest to the river. The smallest should be at the top of the hill. So there are people who've wondered